Our next and final panel for this two-day conference is on the circular economy in practice, making sustainable products for sustainable consumption. And like all things that sounds deceptively simple, it's actually incredibly complex. This session, we're going to focus on real experiences from different organisations, as well as bringing in those policymakers and other stakeholders, which is, of course, the aim of our whole two-day conference. We'll be hearing storytelling from them as well. And we're going to highlight that there are different approaches to different businesses and different practices and different ways that you might go about making those sustainable products for sustainable consumption. So I'll kickstart with our first speaker, who is Magnus Erickson, Chief Executive Officer of Cavat. Magnus, tell us a bit and tell our listeners and our online viewers a lot about Cavat and what you're doing.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm a shoemaker, and I'm the sixth generation in our family business that at the current counts 4 generations. So we have learned a lot from our grandparents and how things were done in the old times, and when people took care more of everything and products lasted longer. We started our journey like 15 years ago by qualifying ourselves to the EU Eco Label. And the next step that we started some 3-4 years ago is to start to repair the shoes that we were making. So we sell the shoes, and inside the shoes we tag them, wear me, repair me. And for our kids' shoes, we have a second-hand sales also on the internet, and we see clearly now that these initiatives are growing very fast. There's a new generation of conscious consumers that really find greenwashing, like starting to do new things from recycled things. It's good, but it's better to take care of what we already have than to recycle or turn things to waste. Yeah. Do you hear me? I'm a little bit technical,
yes, indeed.
insecure.
No problem, we do hear you, and no, I'm not surprised. We have had some digital gremlins today. But a quick follow-up question, Magnus. Do you think it's easier for a smaller company or a larger company to be circular? Are there particular differences?
Yeah, I think it's easier for us. We are a small family company. We can take quick decisions, and we have quite long horizon on what we do. And for us, it's coming from inside, and I think it's easier. We don't have a lot of stakeholders, financial interests, and so on. Okay, we're a profitable company, but we don't have to see the next season or the next year. We have a longer perspective on things.
Well, I'm going to turn now to a larger company, but don't go away, Magnus, because I'm sure I'll have some more questions for you later on. A very good example of a large company is, of course, L'Oréal, and we're delighted to have joining us Laurent Gilbert, the Sustainable Innovation Director. Laurent, I know you've prepared a presentation for us to tell us a bit about what you're doing in the area of making sustainability a reality.
Yes, exactly. Thank you very much for the, first of all, for the invitation and this opportunity to share with all of you our vision of sustainability, the way we define our 2030 strategic goals in this field, including in circular economy. So let me share with me my screen. Okay. Is it working? Can you see it? Yeah, I think so. So let's start with this very brief presentation, because I won't go in every details, but just sharing the fact that 2020 was already a first milestone for us because it is something which has been in the roots of the company for years, but in 2013 we organized it really as a program, and with some key objective in 2020 that we delivered, with some key achievements you can see here. So just a sample of the achievements. The first one being the reduction of our greenhouse gas emission by 81% in absolute term compared to a 2005 baseline for our scope 1 and 2 activities, so mainly for our internal activity. The fact that we also develop a methodology to make sure that we are improving the environmental and social profile of our product, and with an achievement of 96% in 2020 for our new and renovative product, and making also sure that we are tackling the social aspect of our business, making sure that our development benefit also to underprivileged communities. So always coupling environmental and social. So as you see, we have been active, very active in this field, but we consider that looking at the challenges, it was needed to go further, and that's why we defined very ambitious objective for 2030, both for transforming ourselves and second to contributing to the restoration of ecosystems that I won't tackle today because it is another subject. And to do so, we started with the planetary boundaries that has been explained many times in this conference. So starting from the concept of planetary boundaries, starting from the limit which have been established in order to develop very ambitious goals which should meet those planetary boundaries in the field of climate change, in the field of water in terms of quantity and quality, and in the field of biodiversity. And last but not least, working on the resources, how we are using our resources to move from an activity which still is too much linear to an activity which is circular, with two key objectives, which is obviously to reduce the resource we are using, but also to include recyclability on one end, reuse, recycle, so which is really on the technical side, which is address mainly packaging, and also the biological cycle, because we are using ingredients which at the end of the day will end up in nature for most of them, not all of them, but for most of them. So therefore, we need to make sure that for the formula aspect, we are on this renewable flow management, and for the technical aspect and for the packaging, we are on this technical cycle. So meaning that we are really working on those two aspects. So what does it mean for our formulas, which is the first part of our product, is really to work on the origin of our raw material sourcing and transformation and the environmental quality of our formulas, because all those objectives obviously are absolutely linked, which is really to turn and to make sure that 95% of the ingredients we will be using by 2030 will be bio-based or derived from abundant mineral or from circular processes. But the origin is not enough. Transformation is absolutely key, and the sourcing of those ingredients is also absolutely key. So with the objective that 100% of our ingredients which are bio-based are sustainably sourced, and the lands which are needed for the production of those bio-based ingredients is all flat compared to what it was in 2019. And last but not least, working on the improvement of the environmental profile of our formula. And last, what is very important is to make sure that all the products are eco-designed, meaning that they are improving. So how to do that? Because if we want to transform our formulas, we need to do it in a way which is sustainable at the same time, and second, which is delivering the performance and the cost that the consumer are expected. And it will be built on 5 pillars, so two which are on the cultivation and the transformation, and last about the formulation. I won't detail it, but it is really thanks to all the progress which have been made in the science of environments and biotechnologies that we consider that there is also an opportunity, that circularity is an opportunity to develop more performant product, which will be developed in respect with the planetary boundaries. The second part of the product, we discussed the formula, is the packaging. And the packaging is also absolutely key because it's the experience of our consumer, is the performance of our product, because the packaging has a key element of that. But also it has to be designed to sustainability. And for that, since 2007, we have a policy and a strategic frame which is based on those three elements, which are reduce, replace, and recycle. So, and all starting from those elements, we develop again strong ambitious goals for 2030. The first one will be to reduce the intensity of the quantity of packaging. So let's say very simply, which is the quantity of packaging which is needed to deliver our formulas. The second objective is about the recyclability, so to use and to avoid using native plastic, and therefore to make sure that 100% of the plastics we will use in packaging will be from recycled or from bio-based sources. And in 2020, it's only 15%, which is already good. And in the field of PET, it's something about 55% of the PETs that we are using in our bottles are recycled, are post-consumer recycled material. So on this field, we are also cooperating a lot with startups like Carbios and companies like Lanzatech for the development of circular technology and to develop circularity in this field. And last is to make sure that by 2025, 100% of the plastics that we are using will be either reusable, recyclable, or compostables.
Laurent, now I see that we're going ahead into the future here with your presentation, looking to what's coming up next. But I'm going to ask you to take a break there. I know you've got more presentation to show us, and of course we can share that on the platform. But we'll take a break there, and I will come back to you for our second round, and we'll look to the future more then. Because I want to bring into the conversation Pavel Misiga from the head of unit at RTD DG in the European Commission. That's on innovation and funding in the circular economy. Pavel, are you there? Can you hear us? We'd be very interested to bring you in and hear your thoughts, please.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, Pavel. We can hear you, but we can't see you just as yet.
And I don't know why, honestly. So, I hope I can do something about that.
There we are. Perfect.
Can you see me? Hello, everybody, once again. My name is Pavel Misiga. I'm head of Circular Economy and Bio-Based Systems Unit in DG RTD, the department of the Commission that supports research and innovation and manages one of the largest European funds that supports research and innovation projects. So you may ask a question: why DG RTD is involved in European circular economy policy? And my answer to this question is that circular economy transition is intrinsically innovation agenda, because this transition requires innovative solutions, be it technology, be it governance, innovative governance model, be it innovative business models. So there is no circular economy transition without innovation. So our DG, our policy, research and policies, is very much involved in overall European circular economy policy development as well as implementation. I think that I have good news for you. There is, I believe, a significant resources are offered for innovators in the field of circular economy. In the past, during the period of Horizon 2020, from 2014 to 2020, we invested more than 1 billion euro in circular economy projects. Many of them focused on technological development, because there is still need for technological solutions, for solutions to recycle materials, and especially materials that are not that easy to deal with, or to formulate new projects that have properties that are needed in circular economy, etc. So this more than 1 billion euro went to such project. We had another almost 1 billion euro focused on bio-based innovation, and we believe that bio-based solutions are very important element of future circular economy solutions. There is enormous potential in bio-based materials, bio-based technologies, to reduce impact, increase circularity. And when I speak about impact, I mean everything that was discussed: the impact on climate, impact on biodiversity, reduce pollution, and many other impacts. These bio-based products are currently, I would say, more niche than the mainstream, and we invested in this 1 billion euro into collaboration with bio-based industry to bring bio-based solutions to the market and invest in these bio-based solutions in Europe. So our 1 billion, a little bit less than 1 billion euro, actually mobilized 2.7 billion euro in this innovative project. We also experimented with additional types of instruments, and we were very much focused on I would say later phases of innovation life cycle. So what we are very much interested in bringing mature solutions to the market, because there are many technological solutions that came out of laboratories and were demonstrated that they are technically feasible, but we don't see that they are actually applied in real life. So our activities focus very much on what we call higher technology readiness level, and on activities that bring these innovations to the market. And I can mention, for example, European bioeconomy, European Circular Bioeconomy Fund, where we combine public money with private investors' money, and this fund is used to support innovative companies. So altogether, I would say that more than 2 billion of European research and innovation funding were used in the past period, and we want to continue also in the current period under Horizon Europe instrument. There are two important elements, thematic elements. One is more related to industrial innovation. The other is more focusing on overall systemic innovation, whole value chains that also include other than industrial actors, consumers, and look also at governance and at social norms, etc. So these are two elements we can expect that at least we will achieve at least such level of funding as we had in Horizon Europe. So this is available for innovators, and we very much hope that it will be used, because sometimes we are surprised that there is a lot of scientific activities, but we don't always see that that industry takes up solutions, that public authorities with their influence they don't always pick up these solutions. So we hope that that what is available will be actually used, and especially those funds that will be available for these close to market activities. I would like to mention one particular initiative that that was mentioned also in the morning, but for all participants. Traditionally, we have been very much focused on sectoral interventions. So we look at certain particular industrial sectors or particular value chains or categories of products or material streams. And in Horizon Europe, we also decided that we will not looking very much at this kind of thematic focus, but rather that we will try to support all circular economy systemic innovations at urban and regional level, so that solutions that have this scale and that are activities that are carried out by consortia of partners coming from private sectors, businesses, companies, in partnership with public authorities and with involvement of other stakeholders, be it research stakeholders or be it public and civil society. So this scheme we call Circular Citizen Regions Initiative, and we will support it not only with funding, and this is a kind of innovation on our side, that we use European funding for supporting of demonstration project and investment project development assistance, and we combine it with direct technical assistance, capacity building, helping with creation, governance structures at urban and regional level, etc. And this will be done in collaboration with many other organizations that are active in this field. Many organizations that participate in this conference and also contributed to the discussion earlier today. So this is a kind of comprehensive initiative that we hope that will accelerate the process. We are also working with investors. Our direct counterpart is the European Investment Bank, and through this bank we also reach many other investors, basically the whole investment community, through different ways. And together with the EIB, we make sure that there will be investment instruments of different kinds that are able to fund circular economy projects under normal market conditions, but that also with specific instruments will be able to deal with riskier projects where the project that would normally would not be able to access investment.
Thank you, Pavel. I think we're getting a little bit of another technical issue there, but I think you identified very well what the funding instruments are there, but also the need for practices to get that near-edge innovation to be used in practice, to get actually that uptake by industry, because we do see a lot of investment. As you mentioned, there's Horizon 2020, now Horizon Europe, and there's a lot of research being done, but we do need to see that actually translated into real world actions. And someone who might be able to tell us some more about that is your colleague at the European Commission, Paola Migliorini, who is the Deputy Head of Unit at the DG for Environment. Paola, tell us a bit about the circular economy policy and in particular the eco-label and what those sorts of initiatives can deliver.
Hello, thank you. Thank you very much. I'm just need to ask you, I'm very sorry, as other speakers, I had the technical problem. So could you just repeat your question, because I was not able to hear. Sorry for that.
No problem at all, Paola. It's a very general question. I just want to hear from your perspective what is happening within your DG regarding circular economy policy, but I'd also like you to talk a little bit about the eco-label as well.
Yes, okay. So thank you very much. In fact, yes, it's important to see how we can shape the policies in order to empower consumers. So circular economy, as you know, it's it's a policy that we have defined with a series of actions, different actions for businesses, for the commissions, legislative measures, voluntary measures to strengthen the possibility to achieve greater sustainability and to go look at different phases, so from production, consumptions, waste management, and then trying to use the raw materials, the secondary raw material, and putting them back in the circle, in the economic circle. So then we try to keep as much as possible the value of the materials and of the products in the economy. We have been working with different measures. The main one is clearly the Circular Economy Action Plan. And to come back to something that was also said yesterday, we all know that 2022 it's a major year for deliverables on circular economy. We are all waiting for the Sustainable Product Initiative at the end of March. That will focus really on the products. But if we want to look at, you were mentioning the eco-label, I think it's important to see what we can do for consumption. What are the measures that we are thinking? So there will be some legislative measures to empower consumers. So initiatives that that act on consumer law. But the EU Ecolabel remains a voluntary initiative, and I really think it's important that I update you or I share some good news that we have on this front. The EU Ecolabel this year is going through its 30th anniversary, so it's a long time for an instrument to be still alive. And I would say that it's not only alive, it's alive and kicking, because from the latest data that we have from end of 2021, we have seen a raise of almost 17% in the number of products and licenses that we have adopted from the previous year simply. So it means that all the activity that we have done in the past in conjunction with the European Green Deal and the Circular Economy Action Plan, so trying to push forward these instruments in the hands of the consumers, has resonated very well with businesses that have decided to register. And we are now up to more than 80,000 products on the EU market that have the EU Ecolabel. There are some 24 product category. I can think of paints, for example, or detergents. Those are the main category groups, but also tourism. And then, in fact, we have a very large catalog of tourism accommodations. It's almost 500 places or 500 licenses, where you can really see how directly consumers can pick and make their choice and indicate clearly the willingness, even in their free time, to move towards more sustainable choices. So again, this is the instruments. We are at 30 years. Maybe what it could be interesting is to see also what, when you're getting close to 30, you need to start thinking how you go and then how we're going to continue. What can we do to improve? As I said, we are coming with big pushes on policies and to raise the awareness about the Ecolabel. We're also launching two main campaigns. One's precisely for the anniversary and the other specifically for the tourism accommodation. So we are continuing on this positive wave, I would say, and we believe that it's really something that resonates well with consumers. I think that also on the business side, what is interesting is really to consider why there are so many and more companies that decides to use the EU Ecolabel. What are the benefits that can be taken out of having a registration? So not only the visibility that the EU Ecolabel can bring. I'll come back to the example of the tourism accommodations. We are partnering more and more in the past 2 years with platforms because they all engaging into, indicating sustainability choices in their own holidays offers, and we really see it. So there's a way to attract more clientele, if I can say so. But on the other hand, it's not only that the main aim. The other aim is that in order to have the EU Eco Label, clearly you need to screen your own activity. You need to engage in real sustainable efforts. This can be towards switching to renewable energies, or in any case having a mix of energies, looking at the water use, the chemicals that are used or not used, so reducing these presence. And particularly if I think about the water or the energy savings that complying with the EU Eco Label can bring, I would say that this is one of the major reasons why companies are actually happy to engage in this scheme. And looking at the future, I think, so I was mentioning at the beginning that we are also adopting measures and legislations to have sustainable products being the norm. So the question, I think, can come very, very openly. If all the products that are going to be put on the market are going to be sustainable, what is the role of the EU Eco Label at this point, which is a label of sustainability in the end? Well, I would like to add that it's not just a label of sustainability, but of excellence in sustainability. So if I can say so, the Eco Label will allow to identify the greenest of the greenest. So currently, the Eco Label covers some 10 to 20%. It's directed to 10 or 20% of the market of products. So I think in proper with the articulation with the new legislations, the Eco Label will still remain as a tool to show that your products are, or that your services are greener. Also, the coverage is not, for the moment, is not, of course, the same. We need to see what will be the coverage of the product category of the sustainable product initiatives. But the assurance towards businesses that I would like to give is also that we work completely in parallel and in full articulation. It's really the same colleagues, the same DGs and units that services that works on this at the Commission level. So there's no risk of confusion, if I can say so, or even worse, of one measures going against the other. So you let me talk a lot. I think I went through several items. I'll give back the floor to you.
Thank you, Paola. I was interested specifically to let you talk about the eco-label from your perspective, because I want to bring back in Magnus. Magnus, I know, although you're a small business, you do use this eco-label, and I'd like to get your thoughts on how valuable it is and what prompted you and how you found the whole process in developing this as part of your business.
Okay, thank you very much. We started this 15 years ago. So, and I was myself in Brazil at the 25th anniversary, and we did not at that time had a benchmark how to make. We knew our product were very good, but there was no good benchmark to make them the greenest, the choice of excellence. And then we found through Svanen in Sweden the EU Eco Label criteria, and it was very tough at that time to start this with our leather suppliers, the outsole suppliers. We are a manufacturer, so, and we own our production, so we could maybe easier than many normal shoe companies. We could own our value chain, so we could put a demand, and we were lucky. There were some people that liked this idea and helped us to overcome and to qualify. And then I think 5 or 6 years ago, when the criteria became harder, we worked again hard, and we managed to succeed. And for us as a company, we were a very, very small Swedish children's shoe producer back in 2007. Our turnover was around 2.5 million euros. And over the years, we increased our turnover by more than 4 times. So we are, like 12, 13 million euro company now, and that's not that small. And in a time when shoe business and clothing business, mainly, I think 80% of the products that we compete with are made in Southeast Asia. Our production is in Bosnia and Herzegovina, which is a part of Europe, and our main success is that we are green, but our main problem is that we need to get the price accepted for a green product. And when everybody's claiming that we are green and so on, and there is no, when we were in Brussels 5 years ago, we spoke about the guidelines for marketing, because there's, we do it by the book, and then we find some other guys, they get it, they can say they're sustainable just by showing a nice picture and a guy with a beard, So we need, I would like to say that we need guidelines that the EU is not just the best one. There is so much labels and so much green policies around, so for the consumer it's very difficult. And on top of it, we believe that the consumption must go down. I mentioned before that we get inspiration from our grandparents and so on. It doesn't mean we want to go back to older times. We want to innovate, but we need to take the values back that our parents and grandparents and the generations before they had, that a product must last. We should be proud of it. We could sell it away. It gets a story. And we also get inspiration from the, let's say, wine business. And they tell a story where the wine is from, this grape and so on. And in the fashion business and in our business, we can probably do traceability as a big thing, and that's why we implemented a traceability map on our website, and you can really follow the product's origin, And I think traceability with a good product, and then the crown, the eco label, should bring the confidence. And I don't know if this was the answer on your question, but it's from us, the eco label meant international recognition and a mark of excellence.
And it's about trust, Magnus, as well. I think I'm getting that sense from you as well in terms of your relationship with the consumers. I'm going to bring in Cillian Lohan, because I know, Cillian, you've been following along all these discussions. I'm interested to get your perspective. We're talking about consumers here, as well as we've ended up talking about consumers now, as well as the sustainable products. So give me your take.
Thank you, Jennifer. Yeah, it's very interesting to hear the kind of both from the Commission on the one hand, and then the practical implementation and the experiences of businesses on the other hand. And here at the EESC, I guess when we work developing our input into legislative proposals, we very much look at it from the perspective of the consumers. Quite often we have a large representation of consumer bodies in our committee, and I guess we're all consumers anyway. We look at it from that perspective. And one of the things with circular economy that's very interesting is in terms of the pricing and the level of awareness, and I guess the labelling and what we've just heard kind of touches on those topics. And one discussion we've had repeatedly is, does it matter if people know what the circular economy is? I mean, as consumers, does it matter if you go to make a purchase and something is labelled circular or not circular? And my personal thoughts on it are that we can put too much effort into being a marketing company for circular economy as a concept, and not enough effort into what the practical benefits of it are. And so I think Dame Ellen MacArthur touched on this yesterday in her opening, that really we want products on the market that are of a high quality, that are beneficial to the consumer, and are affordable and are accessible. And that's kind of the objective of circularity in many ways. So in some ways, I like hearing the stories of how we're working towards that rather than just working towards promoting the concept of circular economy. And there's a subtle distinction between the two, because this session is about production and consumption, and for the producers it's important that there's training and knowledge and understanding of how to work in this space and to these principles, and how to get the credit for that through a labelling system or whatever else develops. But from the consumer's perspective, it's very different then, or at least it's not necessarily the same motivation. And I think that the idea that the circular item or the sustainable item always has to be more expensive is a real problem. And not only is it a problem that in terms of labelling, it's a problem that it can be the case that the less knowledge a consumer will have of a product, sometimes a higher price can indicate that it's more sustainable or that it's more circular. And we see that sometimes in the wine industry, for example. You know, if I rarely go to buy a bottle of wine and I haven't a clue about one wine from another, I'll presume the more expensive one is probably the better bottle of wine. We don't want to see that being the case, that if you go to buy a pair of shoes and one pair, they both have guys with beards on the boxes with them, but the one that is more expensive, you presume, well, that must be better and that must be more sustainable. And I think that's a hurdle that we have to get over in order to really make all of these policies mainstream and affordable and accessible to everybody.
Thanks, Killian. You're drawing together a lot of threads there. I want to come back, however, just for a moment to Laurent. I know, Laurent, you went to the trouble of preparing slides for us. So I'd be interested to know from your perspective, what sort of role is innovation to draw on? We heard Pavel earlier talking about funding for innovation and the sorts of technologies that are out there. But I'd really like to know how it's helped your organisation become more circular.
Yes, thanks for this aspect, which is absolutely critical for the development of circular solutions. I mentioned already several initiatives on which we take part to say that we need to innovate. We need to innovate to recycle packaging. I mentioned the Carbios startup and the fact that within the consortium we are investing in it, so which is one aspect of it. So we need to innovate for performance when it is about formula ingredients that we are using. And we need to be able to fund and to finance the transition, because what has been said is very important. Some solutions already exist, some has to be discovered. The one which exists are for the time being probably more expensive because they are not at scale, and we need to bring them at scale at a speed which is as quick as possible in order to make sure that the additional cost that this transition is not something that will last and will allow consumers and this transformation to be mainstream. Because as you said, we will do the transformation mainstream or not. So it means that it has been mentioned, innovation and research is critical. Support of startup, financing startup, making available capacities for fermentation, for the development of biotechnology is absolutely critical to develop those kind of innovative solutions for the future. And last but not least, I would not only mention innovation, but it's also consumer awareness about the impact and consumer awareness about that the fact that innovation is needed and that it takes a bit of time, but it is also their acceptance of those new solutions, which is also key in making the transformation.
Well, thank you for that. Magnus, I see you have a hand raised. Did you want to jump in with anything in addition to what we're hearing? Magnus, you have to press the speak button.
Okay,
great.
Thanks.
Thank you.
I agree with the comment there with the price tag. It should not be. It must be affordable. That a lot of people can afford a good product. our products, if we take our children's shoes, they are, let's say, from 80 to 100, 110, 120 euros. But we started a project circular called as new, where we resell, and in our stores we have a wash machine, and we can steam wash, we can make them as new again with new laces and so on. And also on social media platforms, we see our shoes. I think today we have like 5,000 pairs of Cavat shoes online on resale for second hand. And this is important because our price is it's maybe we are double the price from Adidas or Nike or the sporting goods labels on kids shoes, but our shoes last long. So when people know that they can sell them or hand them down to a sister or brother, then our shoes are not that expensive, because maybe from an old shoe you get 30-40 euro when you sell them. And then so the circular agenda is very important for clothing, for shoes, for furniture, and I just wanted to comment on that. It's so important.
Thank you very much. We do really value your insight. As this is a stakeholder conference, it's really nice to hear these concrete examples. I have questions coming in now from the audience. Pavel, a specific question for you from Claudia Kustenza is, does the research into a transition to bio-based resources take into account sustainability aspects of such a transition if it occurs at large scale? So, for example, land use or a change of biodiversity impacts of potential biomass monocultures. I think we're looking there at the scalability and that impact is what the root of that question is. Pavel, if you have any thoughts, could you share those? Pavel, I think, have you pressed to speak or have we lost you?
Sorry. So this is a very good question, and this is a question that we ask ourselves. It is one of the key questions that we ask in our new initiative on Circular Biobase Europe partnership. And again, we are investing 1 billion euro into this to accelerate biobased solutions. So it is related to a broader question, because not everything that is circular actually contributes to environmental objectives. And when we do circular economy transition, we absolutely have to make sure that when we support circular activities, that they contribute to climate mitigation, to zero pollution, to protection and enhancement of ecosystems. So we hope that we have a recipe how to do it in our activities, basically setting conditions, providing metrics and indicators how to measure, how to ensure that we are not doing harm. So all our projects, all our investment will be done under this condition, that we have to be sure that we are not supporting something that causes environmental harm. But I think that this is a more universal question, and it was discussed in the previous session. Luke Allaerts mentioned this different perspectives. So it is very important to do it in all circular economy activities. Every single operator who goes into circular economy should ask this question and be absolutely sure that this is not done. We already see certain circular economy activities that are kind of dubious. You know, we ask questions why this is. We have studies, for example, that biorefineries producing bioplastic, for example. There is a recent study that I have read, and different facilities in Europe were compared from the perspective of climate performance, of carbon emissions indicators. So only one environmental impact indicator, and we see the whole scale of performances from worse than fossil fuel based to excellent, very good. So what we want to support is that excellent part, and we absolutely don't want to support the poor performance part. So yes, we try to include this this criterion and this aspect into our grant making and programming of research funds.
Well, thank you. Paola, I see you have your hand raised as well. What would you like to add? And remember, you have to hit the speak button.
Do you hear me?
We do.
Okay. So I just would like to add for the person who asked the questions and for the others who might be interested concerning the biobase, precisely to be sure that we address the life cycle impacts of such materials. It was announced already, and we are preparing communication for the summer precisely to to provide more information on definitions, what it means, on the sourcing, on the different materials. So then on the impacts of such materials, when would they be a preferred choice from an environmental perspective, and so on. So I think that we need to look out for this document that it's upcoming, in order to also articulate then and then work together with our colleagues in research and innovation, in order to ensure that there are no conflicting interests, but there is clarity for businesses and for research, that we speak the same language, and we ensure that the materials that are bio-based or biosource, etc., corresponds to the same criteria. So then they can be precisely considered sustainable.
Thank you, Paola. And also, I know you've been keeping an eye on those questions in chat. So thank you very much to our audience for sending those in. I think we're getting towards the end of this session, but I just want to do a quick, very brief tour de table just to get everyone's ideas on what they would like to see, crystal ball time, what you would like to see with regard to moving to sustainability in the next 10 years. And that can be directed either what consumers need to do, what skills we need to develop, what businesses need to do, or what policies we want to implement. So I'm going to take it in reverse order. I'll go, Killian, what, if you've just a very brief 30-second summation.
Sure. Well, I guess I'll go back to something Magnus picked up on in terms of the pricing and the fact that sustainable products or circular products are better value over the long term, but because you have to pay a bigger price up front, that increases the fact that they're not as accessible to everybody. So I think a life expectancy labelling that meant we knew how long something would last for would allow us to compare different products in the right way.
Thank you. And Pavel, a very quick key takeaway in 30 seconds to 1 minute that you would like to see happen, or that you have on the agenda to happen in the coming 10 years. And remember to press the speak button.
Again. So what I would like to see is that the number of companies like L'Oreal and Cavat grows very quickly, maybe by using our funding also to run demonstration projects. But grow to the number that the critical mass is achieved, and there are so many economic operators like those two companies that we have with us, that their other partners will have no choice than to adapt and change their activities and their behavior, so that they adapt to circular business models, and with that we reach the tipping point from which there is no return. We will just go into circular economy. So I hope that within years, we at least in certain important sectors, that hopefully across the whole economy, we will reach that critical mass of these pioneers who are spearheading circular economy.
Thank you, Pavel. I like to think of it as a sort of circular snowball effect as we roll downhill and it gets easier and easier to be more circular. Paola, your final closing thoughts? And press the speak button, please.
I would like to leave the producers off the hook for this final comments, but then I would like to focus on another type of companies, the retailers, because I really would like to, as a citizen, to be that all the citizens are able to walk into shops and being able to identify, and then that they see prominent eco-label products. So then they don't even have to go and look for the little label on the back of the product. So that would be really great if you would just walk in, directed to eco-label products.
Good point, Paola. Thank you. We had sort of slipped past the retailers in this current discussion. Laurent, a final, very brief 30-second wrap-up from you, looking into the future.
Yeah, two things on my side. The first one, as you have seen, that we want to do an in-depth transformation. We need to make sure that our entire ecosystem will move with us. So I'm really expecting our entire ecosystem to move. And the second is about life cycle analysis, because this is a key methodology which has been mentioned many times, which is the basis of our eco-design and should be the basis of eco-design and communication to consumer, which is absolutely key to transform their consumption habits.
Thank you. And last but not least, Magnus, your final wrap-up thoughts for our audience as a key takeaway.
No, I don't know, but I think I turned 60 last year, and I think that our future is about that. My generation, we got trapped in a concept of success based on money, good looks, and consumption of cheap products. And I think I would like that the new generation, we can help them to get a success concept which is on circular values and more other things than what we grew up with in the 60s and the 70s.
Well, thank you very much, Magnus. It's a highly aspirational thought you're leaving us with there. So thank you very much to all our speakers and to our audience for sending in those questions. As always, time has been tight and we may not have got to all of them. But remember, you can use the Meet You network tool. It's up there online. You've been able to engage with other people. So I hope you will keep that going in the coming days and weeks to come.